So we're about to split this thing in half. You see I took the floorboard that we can't get out because it's got the differential lock lever with a steel spring pin and just not worth messing with. So we just tied it up with baling twine, get it up out of the way. All the bolts that hold the loader frame support that runs front and back are removed. So there were 4 there and 2 next to it, so 6 total. 12 on each, total 6 on each side. Now, this thing's ready to split. All we got to do is remove the bolts here, which is no big deal. So, got these 2 big planks here. They're about 12 inches wide. Got our jack under there. So the jack will ride on top of these. Now, this jack is going to hold the transmission in the rear end and roll backwards. We've got the optional beam from Harbor Freight attached to the floor jack, making it a $300 jack. And I've got them on top of these supports that we've disconnected that are going to roll backward with the tractor. Now these don't provide any up and down support, they'll bend. So we've got the jack on there, but we put a piece of wood on here that's cut the same length as the supports. So it's really going to sit on the piece of wood on the transmission. And it'll sit here. The reason I have this and still would use this beam is we're going to use straps and lock this to this beam so it can't move back and forth. So that'll be a strap on each side. We're going to run 2 straps crossways around this piece of wood and the jack itself to connect all that together. And we may put 2 more straps, 1 on each side, to hold this block of wood here, even though it's going to be held with the strap that's going across. 6 straps total. We want all this to be nice and rigid and non-slipping. We don't want anything to happen here because that'll be a disaster. On the front, first of all, we've got our hook on the engine right here. And the book says, well, just hoist it up in the air and that's all you got to do. And I've got my engine hoist. The problem is that for this hoist to work, you have to extend the boom out. And every time you extend it out, it gets weaker. And we'll beat it out right here, so it can only hold a little over 1,000 pounds. Well, I don't know if this is 1,000 pounds or not. That engine's probably pretty heavy, diesel. But we also got this big, gnarly, thick front end loader frame. So I'm imagining we could be over 1,000 pounds pretty easy here. The other problem is that once you get your hook in here, have your frame extended all the way out, and run the boom up, touching here, it's not perfectly straight up and down. It's just got a slight bend to the front on your pull, which is going to pull your jack in, and it's not a straight lift. So we are going to use the boom as a safety and put it on here. But instead of relying just on the boom, we went and got these cheap, they couldn't be any tinier, little hydraulic jacks. They're 2,000 pounds each. And what we'll do is we'll take these jacks and put them up on blocks, and on this loader frame we'll put them right in here, and that will allow us to see, we don't need to jack anything up, we just need to secure it. But being that we're not on a perfectly level floor, we're in a barn with rubber mats, this thing may twist when we take it apart, and getting it back together would be difficult. Now we can twist the front a little bit, let some air out of the tires if we have to get things to mate back up. So that's one of the purposes of these. We also have jack stands that are going to go under here. So there'll be the hoist, the 2 jacks, 2 jack stands, and we're just using regular car jack stands there. Now when we pull the, so really that's all we got to do here. We don't need we need some blocks to get this up in the air. We got our things here. Got the tires chocked, our boom. So back here, we're going to want some chocks to keep this from rolling once we get it moved back. But get out of my way, cat. What the hell is your problem? We'll get this all lined up. Now the tractor, because we power washed it, didn't come back from the barn straight because it was drug in here. So it's a little cockeyed. So we'll bring the other tractor in here, make it cockeyed as well so it's lined up perfectly. And we'll put a come along on the front bumper of that tractor to the rear of this one, and use a come along just to put some pressure on it to get it to roll back, instead of having humans trying to roll these wheels and all that kind of crap and being up here in the danger area. Once we get this rolled back somewhere here, here we have a big heavy duty jack stand. That's going to go under the rear section of the tractor, somewhere up in here. All of this will be coming backwards. So more than likely that jack stand can fit right under here somewhere, with maybe a piece of wood. I mean, it'll all be held up by this Harbor Freight jack, but I'd put a jack stand under it too, because hydraulics will fail. I've seen them fail. You never want to fuck around hydraulics, man. So let's see, really, in doing all this, I only damaged two things. There's a little plastic piece on the hood that you pop off to get to the nuts, and it has three little legs. One little leg's broke off. And this I thought was coming out with the tower, but it's actually here and then hooked to the tower wiring, so the wires all got ripped out. This is just a, a Hal sensor, and it may have gotten bent up in the air because I thought it was like this. I'm not going to bend it down until I reinstall all this and see. But what this is here's our forward backward shifter. It had a little nub of metal sticking off here that moved like this, and it just lets it know if it's in forward, neutral, or reverse. That will cut the engine off if you leave it in either gear, even though all the other stuff is in neutral. And it also turns the reverse lights on, so it's no big deal. What do you want? You're such a pain. Stop swiping at the camera. What are you doing? Stop it. You know, you can't imagine what a pain in the ass it is working down here with this cat. I mean, he's swiping at the camera now. Turn off the camera. Turn off the camera.